Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live Cardboard number 16, Clever Mechanisms, Part 2. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. For those who have been following the happenings here at Cardboard Central, we're still in the office, but this is maybe the final broadcast from here for a while. Who knows? Everything's in flux here with the unexpected renovations after the flood, so who knows? Uh, Many of you probably have already noticed no guitars on the wall behind me. They're all packed up. So I guess a big relief for some of you who watched, and you watch and you're worried that I'm about to break into a song at some time. It's not going to happen tonight. So rest easy. Hey, Jonathan, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Speaking of, I'm not going to talk much about the flood stuff tonight, but I just wanted to say, because this was a nice thing that happened to me. Denver from Flying Pig Games contacted me today and offered to help out with replacing my Rock of Chickamauga with, if you saw the flood footage, that was one of the games that was just totally soaked. Anyway, he said I can get a new copy. Everything inside is new, just a broken corner on the box, and I just pay the shipping. Or I can get a brand new copy at MSRP, and they'll pay the shipping. And I gotta say, shipping's not cheap. It's a super heavy box, and I'm up here in Canada, so one of the two things, I'm going to get myself a new copy of Rocket Chickamauga, which is great. Hey, good to see you all. Stuka, David Thompson, lovely to see you again. And Christoph, we haven't seen you for a couple shows. Good to see you. Glad to have you back. So anyway, that's what's up with the flood stuff. A little bit of good news. Before we plow on, let's just get the YouTube stuff out of the way. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Your support, of course, is greatly appreciated. And thanks to all my supporters on Ko-Fi. Ko-Fi is just another version of Patreon. If that's something that interests you, there's info in the video description. There's also my affiliate links for Cube for Me and Noble Knight. Those things help out as well. But mostly just thanks for everybody for being here. I have to say, it's a little sanctuary for me. Well, it feels like the house is crumbling down around me. Anyway, here we go. Let's start out with some news as we often do here. Where's my news button? Oh, yeah, that'll do. Okay, let's see. Well, the big news for me was this. Paths of Glory is now on Rally the Troops. This one totally took me by surprise. It's not that the games on Rally the Troop are simple or anything like that. There's a lot of moderately complex games there, but to my mind, this has got to be one of the more complex ones that anybody's taken a shot at coding. So it's very exciting that it's up there. I'm not a Paths of Glory player. I've only pushed the counters around a bit on my own back in the day. I've always sort of kept it at arm's length because it's a bit intimidating. It's not that I don't think it's the play that's intimidating, but it's known as a game that has like the rules themselves are chunky enough, but it's known as a game that has a ton of exceptions to the rules, and that's always something that well, it makes me stand back a little bit sometimes. So, but anyway, maybe I'll give it a try now that it's on Rally the Troops, because there's plenty of time to look up rules in between turns, right? Anyway, so that was good news. Also, San Diego HISCON has announced the Bobby Nunez Award finalists. That's a picture of the late great Bobby Nunez there playing, I think, Combat Commander. Anyway, the finalists this year are Amabel Holland for her video essay Vonnegut's board game, Preservation, Annotation, Context. Great video. I watched that. Homo Ludens, Unpacking the Clean Wehrmacht Legacy in Wargames, Wargame Ethics. Fred Serval, watch that as well. Terrific. Player Elimination, Philosophy in Board Games, the Categorical Imperative. I think this is a text, I think this is a text essay. I haven't read that one. And then Space Biff, Spacecast 42, the Twilight Cardboard. His interview with Paco, I think. Geez, maybe I haven't got that right. I think I watched it, but I can't remember. Anyway, all great, deserving nominees. Although I got to say, I'm pretty surprised I didn't get nominated for my piece on why blocks are better than minis. Maybe next year. Anyway, there were also 3 honorable mentions, all books. I've read all these; they're terrific. Mark Herman's book, War Games According to Mark: A Historian's View of War Game Design. Roger B. McGowan's The Art of Roger B. McGowan, and Morris Suckling's Paper Time Machines: Critical Game Design and Historical Board Games. Well, all 3 great games. Books, I should say. I couldn't pump them harder. They're great. Anyway, highly recommended. And then I guess the final little bit of news that I have is it's the final. I'm hoping it's not the final issue of C3I, although it was rumored to be, but it's definitely the final issue. Roger McGowan's with Roger McGowan as the editor. His son Stephen has finished it up and got it ready to go out the door. So it's a big issue. I think it's 64 pages, contains 3 games. It's going to be a big one. And I had heard that the game that the magazine was going to shut down, but then I saw a post from Stephen that talked about it being Roger's final issue, but sort of the way I read it was perhaps not the final issue of the magazine. So fingers crossed. It'd be wonderful if that magazine kept going, because it's been great. There we go. Jonathan's in my camp. Good. I love Block Soup, and the minis are great, but there's something about the tactile feeling of blocks. I sort of love it. Anyway, I think I'm in the minority, but maybe it's just me and Jonathan. Announcement of a few games. VUCA's announced 3 new ones. This one is Traces of Victory. This is Patton, November 44. And it's a chit pull game. I'm assuming it's maybe the same system as some of the other Traces of games. I would guess so, but I don't think it's the same designer. Art Vonoy, that name comes to mind. I'm not sure if that's it. I think it might be it. Anyway, I try and get my hands on pretty much anything VUCA puts out. I love their stuff. Also from them, this is quite a departure or something new. Modern Tactics Afghanistan. This is by Shane Logan, that's the guy who does Old School Tactical for Flying Pig, right? I think that's right. The marketing doesn't say, the webpage doesn't say, but the units, looking from the counters, the units look like they're squads or teams, individual vehicles. So it looks like, it's going to be tactical, but set in Afghanistan. So there you go. And then finally, from them, a big multiplayer game. This is Imperial Elegy. It's got a different title on the page than it has on the box, but anyway, the Imperial World Order, 1850 to 1920. So this is interesting. It goes through the First World War. It looks to be more a politics game than a war game. Though it does say that World War I may break out, so that can still happen. It says 1 to 6 players. Each player guides a world power through 7 decades. So sounds like a great tournament game for sure. And then the only other thing really on my radar, Compass has a ton of stuff on pre-order right now. I'm not going to kind of post all of them, but the one that totally caught my eye was this Brothers at War. We can't really see that. I think it says 1861. Oh, let me see if I can make that 1861. There we go. I flagged this one because this is their second volume. I have Brothers at War 1862 that I've played a couple scenarios of, and I quite liked it. Yeah, it's a cool system, like moderate. It's not light, but it's it's light to moderate. I put it moderate. Tons of scenarios in each box. It's great. Yeah, I think Christoph, I mentioned that. I think I mentioned the Against the Iron Ring too. That looks totally interesting. At the moment, I'm halfway through a PBM game of what's the Stalingrad Roads. A slightly different scale, but I'm totally down for all things Stalingrad at the moment. Yeah. But anyway, I recommend this Brothers at War game. I hope I hope this one's as good as the last one. In terms of new games for me, it's been a bit quiet, not totally quiet. This Kickstarter or pre-order, whatever you call it, came in. It's a bit frustrating. I mean, maybe I even know. Maybe it came in 2 weeks ago, and I told you about this last time I spoke with you. It's been sitting here in my office in shrink, waiting for things to calm down a bit around here, so that I can do an unboxing and see what it looks like on the inside and get a feeling for what it's going to be like. So I hope to find, I don't know, find some guerrilla spot to do that soon and get it out and for myself, so I can finally have a look at it. So that was the only new game I got. I got a whack of used games, 6 or 7 of them. I'll just highlight 2. One is this Manassas game that I heard such good things about from Stuart and Pierre on their podcast. We Intend to Move On Your Works. They just love this game. It was the first game that they talked about on their show, and I loved it. I understand Compass has been working on a new version, but I couldn't wait. I jumped on it. So there you go. Yeah, that's the thing. I played a Brothers at War scenario at GMT West a couple of years ago. We played it in an afternoon. It was a shorter one, a 4-hour job or something like that. Yeah, it was very good. They had short ones, big ones, just the way you want it. Absolutely, totally like that. Anyway, totally excited to get this Manassas game. Those boys were such big fans of it. I can't imagine I won't like it. And then the other game in this box of used stuff that I got was this much newer, the Chancellorsville game. This is from Morris Suckling. I have it as Freeman's Farm game, which I sort of liked. It was kind of cool. It was interesting. I found it more interesting than I didn't play it a ton. I guess that's all I'll say. Maybe I should come back to it. But this game has some things in common with that, but much different in other ways. But there was a game in between from this same series from Worthington called Gettysburg: A Time for Heroes, which I really liked, even though I hated its title. Anyway, I'd read that Chancellorsville similar system that was as this the Gettysburg game was based more on this Chancellorsville system than the Freeman's Farm system. So I ordered up this Chancellorsville game because I think the fellow was selling it for $35 or $40 or something like that, and that sounded like a good deal for me. And I'm so happy to have got got a little package of games so that I have a little stack of games in it. We're staying in this condo while the reno is being done, and all my games are packed up. So I've got this little stack of new games to look at least while I'm home alone. Okay, so so much for news. That's not a ton of news tonight, but that's all right. Let's get on to talking about what we're. Oh, that's good to know. Great. I'm going to be solo, so I've got it over at the house, so that's totally fine. I'll give it a go. So tonight we're going to be doing. We're going to do Clever Mechanics Part 2. I know some of you will have been here for Part 1, and it's a. I don't know if that I totally planned on doing Part 2 this soon, but I have to say it's taking a bit of getting used to not having my game collection handy, and then soon I'm going to be moved out of this office as well. So I'm going to have to come up with a new spot to record. But anyway, without my games and familiar surroundings, I realize I rely a lot on all that stuff to come up with ideas for my live streams. So anyway, that's all going to change for a bit. That's not a bad thing. It's going to keep things fresh. Some people have given me a few ideas of things I can do. Buddy Brandt from the Armchair Dragoons suggested a questions and answers episode, which I think that could be a fun show if there's enough questions. So if you have any questions, email me, grant@pushingcardboard.com. Pretty simple. I'll put together a file of things I think I can answer. They can be questions about games, questions about I don't know, questions about anything, questions about the guitars that are in the boxes, if that's what you're into, and of course, if we manage to put that show together, I'll take live questions as well. But anyway, hit me up. So anyway, all that being said, tonight I'm relying on the research that I did for the previous episode. When I made the first episode on clever mechanics, I had a very long list of games, and of course I didn't get through all of them. So we're going to take the second whack of them tonight and talk about some more games with clever mechanics. This is from my point of view, this is anything from like a cool little rule that I like, or a huge, big innovation that sparked a bunch of new games. Anything like that. Basically anything that's surprising or anything that makes me happy, right? So I should say right off the bat, I received an email from Steve Janser, a passionate, a good viewer. I don't know if he's here tonight, but a good viewer of the show, but also a passionate fan of BCS. And he sent me this. That's the Battalion Commander Battalion Combat Series from MMP. He argued that all of BCS was an innovation and deserved to be on my list. He sent me this long, reasoned love letter to the BCS series, and it was such a good letter. I posted it on the website, so look in the video description, and you'll see a link for it. It's a great letter. He goes into detail about many of the BCS subsystems. So if you've not played any BCS games, you're going to get a good overview of what it's like. Anyway, it's a great letter. Check it out. But let's get on to my list. We're gonna start with one that's fairly old here. There's a battle from Germany, from SPI, and I'm sure any grogs here tonight will know why this is here. This is the game that introduced the new angle for two players playing out late war World War II. There's no German player. There's a Soviet player and a Western Allies player. The Soviet player plays the Soviet pieces and the German pieces that are in the West, and the Western Allied player plays the Western Allied pieces and the German pieces that are in the East. It's basically a classic race for Berlin. You're trying to stop the other guy. It's basically that. It's Patton versus the Reds to get to Berlin, basically. Anyway, it was a groundbreaking game in its time, but I sort of feel like it was forgotten about for a long time until this was announced and came out. This Downfall is a game basically by the late great Chad Jensen. He was working on it when he died, and apparently Chad, when he was working on games, he kept all the rules in his head. He didn't like writing and rewriting and revising rules, so he kept them all in his head. That was his usual method, at least until very late in the process. So it was up to his widow, Kai Jensen, and their friend John Butterfield to figure out how it was all meant to work based on Chad's prototypes, charts, and they're having talked to him about it. I think I spoke to John Butterfield about it, and I think he said he'd never even play tested it before they started trying to piece it all together. But they did piece it all together because like many of Chad's games, there's so much of the information is right there on the charts and the board and the counters. So they succeeded. It's basically the same thing. A Soviet player and a Western Allies player, and you play the Germans on the other side of the map. Totally cool to see that innovation picked up and tried again. Here's a twofer. This is Arabian Struggle and Pax Pamir. I lump these two together because they do something we don't see a ton of. In both games, they foreground the local population, and the great powers are background elements. In Arabian Struggle, it's the Hashemites, the Rashidis, and the Saudis all vying for supremacy on the Arabian Peninsula. And then in the background, you've got the British and the Ottomans, and World War I happens in the middle of there. But the three Arabian tribes, for lack of a better word, are vying for supremacy, and they're just trying to get rid of the British and the Ottomans can't attack; they can just defend and get out of the way. Yeah, I totally agree, Dave. For my Arabian Struggle and 1812 Napoleon's Fateful March, those were my sort of tied for my favorite games last year. I just loved Arabian Struggle. I'd play it anytime. And then, of course, in PAX Premier, instead of playing the Russians or the British, as is usually the case for games that model what's often called the Great Game, control of Afghanistan, late 19th century. Instead, each player represents an Afghani faction trying to manipulate the great powers. So I like to highlight. I wanted to highlight these two games just because they put the great powers in the background and foregrounded the people that are actually going to live there and remain after the last bullets been shot. Totally different thing. This is this game was an overlooked gem for a long time, but I sort of feel it's being rediscovered. Last time I was in San Diego, I saw it. I saw somebody playing it, or not somebody. I saw four guys playing it, like for the better part of the day. It's an 8 or 10 hour game, I think. Yeah, it's good to see it. This is four players, four factions, but two teams. And the interesting thing is the players on each team. You know, if it's a four-sided table, the teams sit across from one another. Hey, Mike, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. It is long. I totally agree. I didn't sign up for that, or I didn't play that game in San Diego just because I didn't want to spend a whole day playing one game. But a very cool game. Anyway, so with the teams on either side, it's like I go, then my opponent goes, then my teammate goes, then my other opponent goes. It's like that. But that's not that's not the innovative part. Each faction has cards representing columns or stacks on the board. They've got cards for command, for rearranging things, for fifth column, for moving small forces about the board, and blanks. So they've got all these cards, and at the beginning of each turn, all four players look at their available cards and make an operations deck for the turn. The size of the deck starts at 4 but grows to 5 and then 6. Anyway, they make this little operations deck, and they have to stick to that order. The order of these cards that they're going to put them, they're going to put them upside down, and then everyone's going to play their cards in order, and you can't change the order. So you're going to play your top card in the first round, second card in the second round, etc. So you can really get yourself in a mess due to unexpected ordering by your opponents, or if you make a mistake on your own ordering. Really, really cool mechanic that we hadn't seen anywhere, I don't think, before then. And then again, this was Volko kind of grabbed this mechanic. It's and Volko, I think he talks about this in his designer's notes. Yeah, that's true. There's the cards. There's blanks, right? There's some cards that do nothing for sure. Anyway, Volko says that he grabbed that mechanic from Angola because he loved it so much, and he put it in his Nevsky game, and it goes in all of the Levy and campaign series games now. Same thing, stack your cards in a specific order, and then away you go back and forth. In the Levy and campaign games, it's just two players back and forth. It's a little more hairy in Angola because it's four players back and forth, and not just back and forth, but round and round and round and round. But anyway, if you get a chance to play Angola, like Mike says, it's not a short game. It's an old school game in that it's 8 or 10 hours. But I think it could be worth it at least once or twice. Here's a game I have a kind of a love-hate relationship with. This is another old one. France 40, Jim Dunnigan design that he sold to Avalon Hill. This is, of course, the Avalon Hill box cover. One of the great box covers, really. Most of my favorite box covers are by Roger McGowan. I don't think this one is, although it could be. But anyway, yeah, maybe it is, come to think of it. Beautiful, beautiful box cover. Anyway, this game, I sort of have a few quibbles with the way he rated the units in the game. It makes the French look at what it makes it look like the French men on the ground were what let them be steamrolled by the Germans. to my mind, the problems, France's loss, the problems there lay much farther up the chain of command, and the great French army was wasted. It was the biggest and best army in the world at the time. But anyway, that's a discussion for another time. Anyway, what's cool about this game? So because it was such, yeah, I still play it too, because there's lots of love about this game, even with my quibbles. Because it was such a lopsided affair, and because Dunnigan put all the emphasis on the units of the ground, so he basically made the German corps higher rated than French corps. Anyway, using the historical orders of battle and starting positions with the way these units were designed, it's going to result in a German steamroll every time. So Dunnigan created a set of alternate orders of battle, a whole bunch of them, like 7 for one side and 5 for the other, or something like that. And they're all based on possible plans, possible variations of the plans, and they give a varying strength. So you get better, you get worse OOBs for the Germans, or better ones for the French, and basically they're all rated. And so each side selects one to start the game. Secretly, you don't tell your opponent. Well, I guess you could if you wanted to see what happened. And then in determining the victory condition, the ultimate victory conditions, the lower rated side is going to get a bit of a bonus based on the difference between the two sides and how they're rated. It's cool. Given the way he's designed the game, it breathes a little replayability into these things. Well, playability even, if you don't want to play the historical scenario. Anyway, I think I'm going to need to do a full episode on Fall of France games at some point, because I went deep down that rabbit hole for a while, got quite a few of those games, and did a bunch of reading on the topic as well. So yeah, maybe it is even 10 for each side. That's definitely the thing I love about it, no doubt about it. Okay, well, let's bounce forward to something a little newer here. Undaunted Stalingrad. Now, I'm a big fan of the Undaunted series. It's I don't know if David's still here, but he knows I'm a big fan of it. I'm sure he didn't know I was going to put one of his games in here today, but this is a bit of an outlier in the Undaunted series. If you've played the Undaunted series, you know how to play this. The basic mechanics are the same. The discs and the cards that represent the units, and it's basically a kind of a deck builder in a way. But the twist with this game is David and Trevor took this and made it less generic. This is a bit more like a historical ASL game, really, a historical ASL module. It's I say that in that the map isn't as generic as the maps sort of are in the basic Undaunted games, but also this is one of those games where how well you do and who survives in one scenario directly affects the setup for the next scenario. So rather than just a kind of a random series of scenarios, you've got a much richer narrative being created, and it's a little bit like an RPG almost. I mean, I shouldn't say RPG exactly, but in that in that same way that you might do, it's a two-player game, but in the same way, like when you're playing B-17 Queen of the Skies or something, and you get really attached to the crew of your bomber. You got some bomber called Lulomé, and you just you get attached to the guys that you've invented for that. Well, you get that same feeling with Undaunted Stalingrad. So anyway, if you've never played any of the Undaunted games, I don't know that this is the one I would start with. I'd probably start with the first one. But if you've overlooked them because you think they're too simple, I'd say give them another go. The first in the main box, the first 3 or 4 scenarios are learning scenarios, and they teach you the game, but I don't think they do the game any favors. They don't make the game look as interesting as it becomes. Once you get like 5, 6, 7 up those higher scenarios, the game just opens up. It's sort of like when you put a couple of drops of water in your whiskey and it opens it up a little bit. Same thing. Anyway, so Undaunted Stalingrad, totally recommended. Yeah, I agree, Vlad. I like that in any game I see it, Dunnigan or anybody else. I love. It's funny. I'm not a big fan of buying totally hypothetical games like sort of the kind of things that Ty Bomba specializes in, but a game that has like the actual setup. But also says, but here, this is what might have happened if so and so had got there on time, or this is what the OOB might have been if these rows had been closed, whatever. I'm totally into those sorts of various OOBs and games. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of variable, here's John Butterfield again. Enemy Action Ardennes. Now, this is classic John Butterfield, right? This is not simply a game where it's you versus the German bot. Nope. It can be you as the German versus the US bot as well, and this is the part that really steps it up that I don't think hardly anybody else really does, is that you can also play this two-player, and it actually works as a two-player game rather than just being a tack on that we've seen in some games. I ordered a game from Vento Nuovo a few years ago that it said solo, co-op, or competitive, and I sold it. I played it once and sold it. The competitive, it was a solo game. The competitive, there was no two-player game there. It was just it was a Stalingrad game, and the person who was the defender had nothing to do. They technically were playing, but they weren't playing. They were just doing the same stuff the bot would do, which was hardly anything. Anyway, the great thing about John's games, and he's done this. Yeah, exactly, Mike. Yeah. REF has that feature. John started his REF game. I think it started out being called Battle of Britain or something like that. It wasn't always called REF, but it started out as strictly a solo game. Then he added solo for the other side, and then he added two-player, the whole shebang. And that's the version I have. The deluxe RAF from Compass. No, Decision. From Decision. Yeah, from Decision. Yeah, that's and then of course there's Enemy Action Kharkov as well as Enemy Action Ardennes. I don't know. I think it's talking to designers. They talk a lot about how it's really hard to make a solo version of a two-player game, and something about John Butterfield. He can make a solo version of a two-player game. He can make a two-player version of a solo game. He can make it all in one box. The guy's just a genius. There's no two ways about it, and kind of the sweetest man you'll ever meet. If you ever get a chance to say hello to him, just do so, because he's really approachable and affable, and and happy to talk about war games. John Butterfield is one of those guys. Well, Mark Herman is the same way, but if you see John at a convention, he's playing games the whole time. If he's got a game he has to demo, he'll demo it for like the 3 or 4 hours that he's got to demo it. But then he's just playing games all the rest of the time. It's like I've seen him. I remember seeing him in Hanford at GMT West, and he's like, I'm leaving at 10 or 11 at night, and there's John playing with this young guy, like a guy that was like 19, 20, and John saying, "Okay, this was really cool. Can we just leave this set up and we'll get back at it first thing in the morning?" It's like that's how much of a game it is. Yeah, I think that's true. John Butterfield's his own thing. I think that's actually true. Um, well, it's interesting, Christoph. I did an interview with John. If anybody's interested in it, it's on my podcast. It's also all those podcasts are available as audio only here on YouTube as well. But I talked to John about Enemy Action Kharkov, at first I was talking about enemy action Ardennes, and he explained how he did it, and how he'd worked it all out, and because I found that all interesting, and then he said, and so I decided I was going to try enemy action Ardennes. Everything's so closed, and there's only so many places you can go, and he said, I want to try I decided I wanted to try Kharkov because it was bigger and more open, and I said, oh my God, yeah, but that must have made it like so many, like million more possibilities, so much harder to do the bot, or to do the non-player. And he just laughed and said, yeah, now you tell me. He said, I didn't even think of it that way when I was designing it. I thought it was going to be easier, but you're quite right. It was like, it was way harder, much harder to figure out. Took much longer to figure out Kharkov than Ardennes. So yeah, well, the other thing, though, I should say, Christoph, John did all those solo games for Decision, those island games like Tarawa and whatever. I can't remember which ones were his, but like he did 3 or 4 of them, and then basically just turned the series over to other people to keep making the same game. So who knows? Maybe someday somebody will be foolhardy enough to try and step in his footsteps and do another enemy action game. Yeah, I know. Never another Ambush either. Although I'll tell you, the game that John's working on, he's working on a space game for GMT right now that kind of works in the same way as Ambush, I think. I remember last time I ran into him, I talked to him about it, and he said the thing about Ambush that he burned out on was, like, it wasn't just writing all those paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs, but it was trying to keep track of how all those paragraphs intersected and played off each other. He said it was just this giant thing that they had to do all on, like, note cards and like one of those giant boards you see that in shows that are about police investigations with strings going everywhere. But that game was designed in '83, Ambush, and this new space one that he's doing now, of course, he's got computers, and they've let him hire someone who's a database expert, and they're putting all that stuff in a database so they can keep track of it all that way. So it's not going to be the giant kind of brain burn that John said that Ambush was. We're going to talk about Ambush in a minute, but first let's talk about this one in between. I don't have a ton to say about this game. Rise and Decline of the Third Reich, or Third Reich as most of us call it, who played it back in the day. This was my first grand strategic game, and for all I know, maybe it was the first grand strategic game. There were certainly a few big operational games before it, like maybe Dragnet Ostend and stuff like that, but I don't know if there was, I don't know, maybe SPI had a whole War in Europe game before this. I don't know. This is pretty old. This is 73, something like that. Anyway, I'm not certain. What the big innovation to me was in that along with doing the whole war in Europe, what I thought was really cool here was the introduction of the basic resource points for each side. These were here's a little, these are cards you can see where you track how many BRPs you have, a card for each side. It was a way of measuring each country's economic and industrial output, and weaving that into the game in a way that kept things asymmetric, but still interesting, because it's the player's choice in the way that they spend those points. Yeah, exactly. The attrition option, it only costs like 5 or 10 points. I can't remember what it is to declare an attrition option on a front, whereas it costs 25 or 35 to declare an offensive on a front. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. This economic system was entirely new, and I think pretty much every World War II grand strategic game after has felt the need to keep economics in the game, economics and in industrial production. Yes, that's it. Yeah, we call them burps as well. Yeah, that's burps or burpees even. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh, well, that's interesting. That's interesting to know, Dave. That Bill is cool on the series. I wonder if it's. I wonder if partly it's because of the price point of the series, because those are big, heavy boxes with a lot of stuff, and like, isn't the MSRP on enemy action games, isn't that somewhere up in the 175 range, somewhere up like that, 150, something like that? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, there you go. So I knew there was a difference. So 15 for offensive and attrition is free. Right. Yeah, that's right. For those of you who are not familiar with the attrition option, basically, if you chose the attrition option on a front, there would just be it was just like this kind of frictional combat. You'd count up how many strength points you had adjacent to the enemy on that front. So you weren't. It wasn't like you were actively moving and attacking. It was just sort of where you were butted up together. You roll on a table, and then the opponent, as Joe says, determined which hexes he had to give up. Yeah, great game. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, combat system with the chits, and I there's an I'm not going to talk about it tonight, but there's that makes me think of there's those some of those games from VUCA, um, like the one across the Bug River. There's three or four of them. They have a chit, a kind of a chit system for the combat system as well, where it's not just dice, but you pull these chits and look at these columns, and there's different multipliers on those chits. Yeah, so yeah, I guess we've got some innovations upon innovations in some of those games. No big surprise with a guy like John Butterfield, though, right? He's well. Speaking of John Butterfield, let's finish with Third Reich and ah yeah. I was playing it online. I was playing it online with a guy this spring, and I hadn't played it in like 20 years. I wanted to play it again, and we were playing PBEM, and I would I was so terrible that he ended up ghosting me. I take total blame. I think he was just exasperated at how much I'd forgotten, and some of the boneheaded moves I made. I feel bad for him. If you're out there anywhere, I'm sorry. I'll do better next time. But yeah, totally. Third Reich's still totally playable. I'd even give. I've never got into the newer ones by Bruce Harper, but I would play Advanced Third Reich as well. I know nobody really liked that one, but I'd still play that again for sure if I got a chance. Um, yeah, yeah, that's exactly, yeah, exactly, Joe. Um, I, I I liked it. I liked, as I said, I liked Advanced Third Reich. I thought that was okay. I liked some of the diplomatic stuff and whatnot that was in there. But then when they added, I didn't get into the Pacific Theater game that they added onto it, and then then he pushed it all together, and then it became World at War at GMT. It's just, yeah, it's just. I still think probably the best version is the very first version. So there we go. Um, this is going to sound like backtracking a bit because we talked about it a bit, but I also wanted to talk about Ambush that Mike Zarka has already brought up. But this is another John Butterfield, along with the great Eric Lee Smith. I mean, I tell you, if they were still making solo games like this, maybe I'd still be playing solo games. Long-term listeners to the podcast know I'm not much of a solo gamer, but I love this game. Ambush is basically a kind of a choose your own adventure type game. You know, if you ever had those kind of books as a kid where you'd read a paragraph and then it'd give you, if you want to do this, go to this page. You want to do this, go to that page. It's sort of like that. You have a big book of paragraphs, and the decisions you make at the end of one paragraph determine which is the next paragraph you read. Or well, that's not the only way. There's actually this other innovation, and then the twist here is that when you encounter the enemy, the action shifts from the paragraphs book to a kind of a traditional hex encounter board game. But the sort of the extra cool thing was that these mission cards, this is what you're seeing. This, it doesn't show it very well. I couldn't find a good photo of it, and my copy is boxed away, of course. But that's kind of a long, like a sleeve, and there's a card inside there. There's a mission card. So for all the different missions in the game, they each have their own card. The card gets kind of pulled back and forth to align numbers and letter in the middle column, and then the results are read from the little columns kind of streaming down diagonally, and that's how you're going to find out which paragraph to go next, or whether or not there's an encounter, or you find something or you don't find something. It's this sort of sleeve and mission card thing. It's just pure genius. It's I don't know. I think it pretty much drove John crazy. He certainly he bailed on the series before they he might have been involved in the first expansion, but by the time they were doing things like Battle Hymn and all that stuff, he had turned it over to everybody else. He just he'd had enough with trying to keep track of all those paragraph numbers. Yeah, it's yeah. Although, like I said, John's trying it again, this time with the in space, and with the help of a computer to help keep track of all the stuff that he wasn't able to keep track of, that he had to keep track of via paper and pencil back in the day. Anyway, yeah, Ambush. If you get a chance to play it, it's so different from what we think of as the current state of solo war games. It's nothing like a state of siege game. It's nothing like a push your luck game of any type. I mean, there's push your luck elements like in any game, but it's not. I think the only current game that I've found that is a bit like it is from David Thompson. I can't remember who his. Sorry, David, I can't remember who your partner was for this, but War Story. That game, it doesn't have the hex board, but it does have little maps. But it's also it's got basically a mission book, a paragraph book, and what you do and what the skills of your units are in that game determine which paragraph you go to, what decisions you make, and your skills bump you along. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure game as well. I love that. I wish I don't know, those kind of games just. I'm not one who bangs on very often about immersion in games. It's not a big thing for me in a war game, and I'm not against it or anything like that. But I tell you, Ambush, War Story, those games, huge amount of immersion. Okay, on to another one. Death in the Trenches. This is a second edition of this. I think they changed it a little bit, so it's a fairly newish game. There's a ton of interesting stuff going on in this one. Yeah, more than what I'm going to talk about. But what I think is what I heard about that made me buy this game, and I was not disappointed, is there's literally hundreds of events in this game. Hundreds. It's now they don't. When I first heard about the game, I thought they might come out one by one, sort of, but it's not quite like that. It's it's World War One. Each turn is 4 years long, or 4 turns long, sorry, and there's an events phase at the beginning and end of each turn. So that's 8 events phases each year, and you draw chits each year to see. Well, basically, for each year, there's an event book, and each year we'll have a stack of 8 or a page of 8 events, and there'll be like 15 to 25 events in each of those. So it's 1916. You pull a jet, the first event segment on that year. You pull a chit. It says number 3. You go to 1915, number 3, and you do all those 15 to 25 events, whatever it is. So there's 8 panels of events for each year, and all 8 are going to get used, but it's going to be totally random what order they happen in every year. So that talk about a way to make it fresh and replayable every time. Some of the events are sort of kind of major things, not huge, but like there's events that make the U.S. entry into the war more probable, more probable, more probable. There's a little track for that. It might move that counter along the way. There's a ton of other events that are just tiny little things that they're historical events that could have happened or did happen but didn't have a big effect. And there are things where you might just roll a 6-sided die, and on a 6 it does happen. And so there's just this incredible, immense amount of historical detail in the game, which is like totally fun if you're a history nerd, which I kind of assume all of us are. Yeah, it's oh well, you're gonna love it. I'm playing it via PBEM. It plays just fine like that. It's got an interesting a combat system as well, in that it's a bucket of dice system, but you get to choose how many dice you roll. But if you accidentally roll over what your maximum amount of hits would be, it's an overroll and you don't hit anything. So there is a bit of a pressure luck thing in the combat system of this game. I really like it. I'm going to play this again. I'm playing it via Vassal, and the version of the Vassal module that I have is not terrific, but another one has come out since then that is way better, and I can't wait to get to my next game so that I can play via the better module, because there's each of the armies has a varying number of divisions. It can be up to like 20 divisions or 25 divisions even, and you're constantly having to click up and down on this module to adjust the numbers. And we had to make something. We had to clutch something in. So the new one does all that much more handily, as I understand it. Anyway, Death in the Trenches, totally recommended. This, I know probably a lot of you have played Rebel Fury. It was all the rage over the last year. This is kind of the bones of that game. This is Gettysburg, and then he did Waterloo, finally Rebel Fury system. This game's got kind of a novel combat system, although that kind of has grown by the time it's become Rebel Fury. But the thing that really grabbed me about this game the first time I played it, it's like, how the hell is this going to work? And when you describe the game to somebody, they're going to say, how the hell is that going to work? There is, theoretically at least, unlimited movement. You alternate moving units, but you can move the same unit again and again and again, basically forever. The catch is, every unit has a zone of control, which is the classic zone of control, the 6 hexes right around the unit, and then it also has a zone of influence, which is the hexes around those 6 hexes. So you can move your units however many times you want, but once you move into an enemy zone of influence, you have to stop. You can move again, but you have to stop at that point. And your speed will go from maneuver speed, which is like 4, to 1. It'll become battle speed, and you'll only be able to move 1 hex at a time. But if you've moved from the zone of influence into the zone of control, once 2 units are in each other's zone of control, neither of those units can move again. So anyway, as I say, as long as you don't run into somebody's zone of influence, you're going to be able to move all over the place. It's a little hampered by the fact that the leaders, each side will have units for 1 or 2 leaders. That's in Rebel Fury, but in Gettysburg, I think it's just 1 leader per side. They have a sort of a command radius, and you can't move out of those. But anyway, The fact that you can just keep moving a unit over and over again as many times as you want to, I love that. It's I don't know. I think maybe some people maybe found it a bit off-putting, but I sort of think it captures things beautifully. The two zone system is genius. It means like you can't maneuver right up to an enemy zone of control. You have to stop in the zone of influence, and so that gives the other guy a chance to move away. So it really does make for a game of maneuver. All these games, culminating in the Rebel Fury series, they really are games of maneuver. The combat happens. The combat's incidental. There's not a lot of not a ton of nuance in the combat, but a ton of nuance in the movement for sure. Yeah, if you haven't, if I were you, just dive right in with Rebel Fury if you like. Although I think maybe Gettysburg and Waterloo, which are the bones of the same system, the combat system is a little different in Rebel Fury, but I think both of these are on Steam and have AI opponents. So you might be able to learn it on your own on Steam. And these games on Steam are not very expensive, so really easy to check them out. Okay, here's a game I think I've talked about in other circumstances before, but it's got a really novel thing. 1812, War on the Great Lakes Frontier. This is a game about the War of 1812, of course, and it's called War on the Great Lakes Frontier, but it's not a naval game. I mean, it is a naval game. Naval war is a big part of it, but the ground war is here as well. The interesting thing about this game, in many ways, is the map. This is one map. There's another map that goes on. It's two long maps wide. I think that's Lake Erie we're seeing there. It's kind of maybe I can bounce it up for you. No, that's no good. That wasn't even as good as I had it before. Oh well. What I want to say is you can only kind of barely see it in this picture, but the whole of Lake Erie is there, and then there's just hexes, sort of one to two hex rows deep around the edges of the lake. You see those long kind of lines. There's like a long line of hexes down to Pittsburgh, or a long line of hexes over to Fort this or that, and they follow whatever the road or the track was. There's no moving off road through the wilderness or anything like that. It was just I thought it was a really clever idea that captured the fact that during the War of 1812, pretty much most of the main action happened along the Great Lakes. I mean, some happened in the eastern seaboard as well, and of course the famously inconsequential Battle of New Orleans. But everything, all transportation is done at this period via lakes and rivers, and all the settlements are on lakes and rivers. So that's where the action is. I just thought it was a fantastic game. Yeah, I'm no surprise you'd say that, Mike. I think if I know your avatar on BGG, I think it's a counter from Amateurs for Arms. But I've raved about Amateurs for Arms before. It's maybe that and Unhappy King Charles are probably my two favorite CDGs. And the thing I love about Amateurs to Arms is it's giant. It's a CDG, but has a giant deck, like 120 cards. Deck knowledge is not the kind of bonus that it is in, say, a game like Twilight Struggle. You might know all 120 cards, but they're going to come out in any order. You have no idea. You've got no way to guess what your opponent has in their hands. Anyway, that's a sideline. Totally love Amateurs to Arms for 1812, but I have to say that the War on the Great Lakes Frontier is it's probably now my second favorite game to play on that topic. Here's another twofer. This is I lumped these two together. Oh well, Yeah, well, there you go. Mark's got great taste, or either he does or I do, or or Mike Zarka does. It is a great game. It's uh, the other great thing that Amateurs to Arms has. I'm just going to backtrack on this for a second. It's got a naval component as well, of course, and it's got a ship building component where you basically know when your opponent is putting resources into their shipbuilding, but you don't know the size of the ships they're building. You don't know how close. If those are small ships, they might be close to being completed. If they're bigger ships, it might be quite a while before they're completed. You don't know. You don't really know what his navy is going to look like until it gets out on the water. It's a fantastic part of that game. I love it. Anyway, back to Eagles in the Sky and Down in Flames. I popped these two together because they kind of do a cool thing. They're similar in some ways. They do tactical air combat without a hex map. And I could have put Ace of Aces in here as well, but these two are a bit similar, so I put them together. There's no hex map, although the spatial relationship between planes is still important. You know, who is tailing, how close they are, but you don't do the thing like if you remember your old Ricky's War or games like that with a hex map, and you're doing your little maneuvers all around, and then the other guy comes around. You don't do that in these games. These games have cards to accomplish the maneuvers. You can see Down in Flames, it has a card deck for maneuver cards, but the playing pieces are also cards. So you can see there that when two planes interact, the cards simply placed in relation to one another. So that one's attacking from the side. If you were being tailed, you'd put the one card right behind the other, that sort of thing. Both players, as I said, have a hand of maneuver cards, and the play of those cards is what determines how you manage to change those relationships, and also that's how you get a chance to fire and stuff like that. Eagles in the Sky, sort of a similar thing. It does have a map board. This is its map board, but not a hex board, as you can see. There's that big chunk in the middle, the blue sky, and it's just divided up into 4 levels that are like 4 bands of altitude, like high, medium, low, and then treetop, basically. And when planes are unengaged, they sit there. They sit in one of those bands. But when planes become engaged, you can see those sort of 6 little kind of blocky things around the edge. Those are little spots to set up your dogfights. And so when a couple of planes become engaged, they move into relationship with each other. Here's a dogfight that's been going for a little bit. You can see two. This is 2 aces engaged. You don't always have an ace like this, but this is a Taylor in his SE5A tailing the Baron in his red Fokker DR1. But you can see Richthofen is wounded, but Taylor is out of ammo. So the Baron is probably going to escape and make it out alive. Eagles in the Sky gets some of its maneuver DNA from Down in Flames. In that, again, there's a maneuver deck. Players have a hand of cards, and instigating and countering maneuvers comes from your hand. If I play like a speed maneuver and you have a speed maneuver, you can counter my speed maneuver. It's that sort of thing. But totally fun game. Eagle in the Sky. The other thing Eagles in the Sky has is it's got a great campaign game that I'm dying to play more of. The classic thing where you keep track of your planes and you keep track of your pilots, and they can gain in ability as they the longer they live, the more once they become an ace, things like that. Okay, another Mark Herman game. Here's one where I said sometimes the whole game is an innovation. That's definitely this game. This whole game is an innovation. It's a game that takes place over the course of the Second World War, but it's about the Allied powers. It's not the Germans are they're the background. This is about jockeying for who's going to be the dominant power at the end of the war. Who's going to be the dominant power in the post-war world. The action of the game takes place in various conferences that happened among the Allied powers during the course of the war. Historical conferences, the Alta Conference, the Potsdam Conference, all those. It's so it's got a big game board. You see on the right, there's on top of each other, there's I guess we call war tracks. The top one tracks the progress of the war in Europe, while the bottom one tracks the progress of the Pacific War. But over on the left side, that's where the real action of the game takes place. You think of this as a big conference table. I think it's probably drawn like it looks like a conference table, right? Each conference, each player is going to put a couple of issues, little chits, into the center of the table, and then through card play, players are going to try and influence these issues and move them closer to themselves down their spoke. There's the three spokes. There's Churchill and FDR and Stalin, right? So you're going to try and either maneuver issues towards you, meaning you have more control over that issue, or if somebody else is getting control of an issue, you're going to try and play cards to lessen their control over it. Once these are called debates, because you're debating the issues. Once all the issues have been debated, where the issues end up on those spokes are sort of going to determine what sort of production and strategic bonuses each player is going to receive, and then these are going to be used in turn to influence the war over in those on the right side of the board. You'd be able to spend things to move the track in certain in each theater. Yeah, I think Mike, I've heard that's been a bit of a hit on the tournament or the convention circuit this year. I've every time somebody does a convention AAR, I hear them talking about that game. So yeah, I had another game that's a bit like these is Versailles 1919, which I haven't played yet. But anyway, I simplified Churchill quite a bit, but that's basically the gist of it. It's like one of those things where like there was nothing like it before, and the only games that have come after it since have Mark did 1919. I don't know that he did Congress of Vienna, but I think he did a game. Didn't he do a game, an Ancients game, a Greek game, maybe a Peloponnesian game that uses a similar Churchill sort of mechanic? I'm not sure about that. I don't have it, whatever it is. Anyway, I think Churchill is another good convention game. The other great thing about Churchill, just if you've got a game club or whatever, it's one of those rare, beautiful things. It's a 3-player game. Versailles 1919 is 4-player, but Churchill's 3-player. So when you've got that odd extra guy, away you go. Yeah, I can't remember it either, but I'm sure it's set in the Peloponnesian wartime or something like that. Okay, well, I only have a few more, but here's one of my all-time favorite games. Oh, there we go, Pericles. Yes, good. Thank you. Yeah, I don't own Pericles yet, but I'm sure it will make its way to me. Here's one of my all-time favorite games. I love this game. This is it's got more than one interesting thing. This is by Rachel Simmons. If you haven't played this, you might know her from Napoleon's Triumph, which is, I know it's a lot of people's all-time favorite Napoleon game, as well as Triumph of Marengo. She's got that 2 versions of that game, and then this is her one American Civil War game, which uses some of the same mechanics as the other games. But what I love about this game, the first thing is the order of arrival of the units. This is two days at Gettysburg here, and all the units that come on the first day are going to come on the first day, but the order that they come is a bit random. And that's totally cool. Uh, that's cool in itself, but it's what makes it even more cool is that there's kind of an interesting mechanic for balancing it out. If one side gets a whole whack of their um, reinforcements before the other sides, specifically if the Rebs get a whole bunch before the Union, there's a balancing thing that happens. The game has there's 3 victory markers, objectives. They're placed. They're placed forward, fairly far forward from the Union perspective, and control of those objectives determines who's going to win the game. If the Rebs start overwhelming with more and more of their reserves coming on faster than the Union's going to get a chance to move 1 or 2 of those objective markers. They can move them back, move them into better defensible terrain, because in the end, the Union's going to end up defending those spots. On the other hand, if the Union troops come out much more quickly than the CSA troops, then they're going to stay really far forward. If it's kind of balanced, the Union will still get to move them, but just a little bit. And that's kind of important because that makes every game a little bit different. The objective pieces aren't going to be in the exact same space. They're going to be close, and they might be kind of quite a bit different if, like I said, if the CSA gets a big advantage of units early on. But it's a fantastic kind of balancing thing. But you still totally feel like you're playing you're playing Gettysburg. Well, here, this is there. You can sort of see it there. This is very early. That's just those 2 units. That's Buford, and then there's like maybe Heath and maybe one other thing out there for the Confederates. I think Heath comes first. Can't remember. But if you look kind of up and to the right and farther down to the right, you can see 3 blue stars. Those are the objective things that the Union will be able to move. And the one way down low, it's way off on its own. If the Union gets a chance, they're going to try and move that up higher, closer, so that they're a little bit, so that it doesn't have such a giant, long, wide, spread out area to defend. Anyway, the other thing about this game is, and Rachel does it in her Napoleonic games as well. It's an area map. You can see those. You can kind of see the areas there, and she uses the long blocks. The long thin blocks as the units, and all the units get placed along the edges of the areas. In Napoleon's Triumph, the units can be in the middle of the area, or they can move to the edges to block. But in this game, you're always on one of the edges of the area. And there's little I can't blow it up enough for you to see, but there's little markings that will indicate slopes or other kinds of terrain things that will limit kind of LOS or give some kind of advantages and things like that. I'd never seen a game before where all the movement was along the lines on the edge rather than the actual areas themselves, and it works fantastically. And plus it looks so cool. It looks like how we see, like when we look at a map of this was a situation in June or July 1863, and they show like the little frontages. It really feels like you're seeing that. Oh yeah, sorry, I missed this, Jonathan. Yeah, so Congress is closest to the Churchill model. Pericles and Versailles, then you're saying, are slightly different. Well, I'm interested in whatever Mark designs, so I'll play them all if I get a chance. Anyway, if you get a chance to play Guns of Gettysburg, jump at it. Some people struggle with the rule book, I'll tell you. Rachel, I think, is a genius at writing rules. She writes what she means, and she doesn't write what she doesn't mean. the problem some people have with her rule books is they've played war games for a long time, and they have certain assumptions about the way rules work, and that's going to bite you in the ass with Rachel, because sometimes she breaks conventions, and you need to do what it says in the rule book. The other thing, in her rule book, she'll say something once. She doesn't repeat a concept over and over. So you just have to catch it the first time. That can be a little tricky, I suppose. But anyway, I don't know that if this game is still in print, but if you can find it, definitely get a copy, because it's well worth running down. I know there's no shortage. There's never any shortage of Gettysburg games, but this one's probably my favorite. That's saying a lot. There's a lot of good Gettysburg games out there. Okay, I only have one last slide, but we can talk about a few other tactics, or I mean mechanics, that you folks may bring up. But I'll just talk one more game that I'd thought of, which of course is the 1812 Napoleon's Fateful March. I mentioned earlier is one of my favorite games from last year. The cool thing about this game is it's a block game, but it's a block game sort of sorts. The blocks don't represent the units. The leaders in this game are standees. The units are counters, like your regular war game. It's a point-to-point map. The blocks represent orders, and they're one-sided, so you can't see what orders your opponent is putting out. You get to place a certain amount of orders each turn, and you have a whack of blocks with all the different orders possible. Plus, you have some dummies, and you put the blocks out with you give each of your or most of your leaders an order each. You don't know what your opponent has ordered. He doesn't know what you've ordered. And then it's not just a case of then, we put them out and then we reveal them all. There's a certain order that the orders get revealed. Like first we reveal the march orders, then we do the marches and have any combats that come out of that, I guess. Then we might do, I can't remember the exact order, but maybe refit is next. And so anybody who has a refit order does it. It's so all along the line, even in the revealing of the orders, there's still fog of war. Like this game is just full of fog of war. I didn't mention it as part of the innovative things, but the other thing this game does is this is great. Yeah, I'd heard from Brian Askalev, that's the designer. I'd read something he wrote that hinted that he was going to do another volume, but I didn't know if what year it would be, what campaign it would be. Anyway, the other thing about this game is you have the leaders on the table in the different points, but you don't have your units out with them. Each of the leaders has a little sort of screen, and if you have like 8 leaders, you have like 8 screens out on the side of the board, and the units are hidden. Each leader's units are hidden behind that screen, so you know where Nappy is, but you don't know who he's got with him. And sometimes the leader will have other leaders with him, but he'll always have a bunch of units with him. And each of the other nice little bit of color is each of the leaders, I should say, has a bit of a not special power, but some kind of ability that only he has. Like I don't know, maybe Napoleon can move twice or something, or that's not what it is, but it's that sort of thing. So, and some of the leaders are going to have 3 or 4 special abilities, and some of the lesser leaders are just going to have 1. Anyway, a game full of fog of war, highly recommended, and that hidden orders thing on blocks where they get revealed consecutively, I had never seen that before. That was completely new to me. Anyway, that's all the games I'd brought to talk about tonight. If anyone has anyone they want to mention before we go, there we go. So Christoph says that the 1813 one is already in development and playtesting, and Dave says there's going to be at least 2 more. So we're gonna have Spain and Central Europe. So fantastic! Like I said, it's a great system. Um, it it kept me on the edge of my seat when I was playing it. That's for sure. And then the other thing, like all VUCA games, right? It's like it's beautiful. That box cover is one of the best box covers I've seen in years. It's totally striking. Love it. And the components are top quality. VUCA never skimps. I mean, the games are on the pricier side, but you're paying for top quality components. You're generally getting really nice mounted, not just mounted map boards, but you're generally getting the player aids are often mounted on the same board stock as the map. The player aids are these heavy cardboard things. Counters are nice, all that kind of stuff. Lucas counters are usually the pre-rounded kind too that you punch out. There's no counter clipping or any kind of that stuff with VUCA games. Here I go on and on. Sound like a VUCA fanboy. I suppose I am. I think I've yet to be disappointed by a VUCA game. So well, we'll see. There's definitely one that I feel like I've met my match. If anybody's played Red Strike, I'm only part way into that, and as I put it all together, I'm finding it harder and harder. But I should get there. Oh, there you go. Nice to hear a shout out for the Belgians. Christoph, are you in Belgium as well? I might have remembered that. I'm not sure. Um, I I yeah, I don't know. I don't know that name, but I'll certainly remember it after this cover because the cover is not only beautiful, but I really like. I find it emotionally evocative as well, right? Napoleon standing, staring at the kind of is that burning? Is that burning in the distance, or is that yeah? It's burning. That's smoke coming out. So yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great cover. Uh, but anyway, well, if that's it for me tonight. So if there's no other games anybody else wants to yak about, I should say, as I said, for anybody who wasn't here off the top of the show, I'm looking for, since I don't have my game collection here, it's all boxed up because of the flooding and whatnot. Uh, I don't have the same sort of thing to. I realize I use that to bounce off of to get ideas for what I wanted to talk about in live stream. So for the next little while it's all boxed up, I'm going to have to come up with some different ideas for live streams. And one that was suggested to me was see if I wanted to do a question and answer show. And I think it's a great idea if I get enough questions. So if you have any questions about anything relating to wargaming, anything at all, I don't care. You want to talk about my thinning hairline, whatever. You can send me a question at grant@pushingcardboard.com. We'll see if we can put together a Q&A show. And of course, that night I'll take live questions as well. It might take us a month or two to get enough questions to do that. But I've got a few ideas for what we'll do next time. There's no shortage of things to talk about when it comes to war games. And I do have a few games in my pile that wasn't packed up. I got a couple of things to do for giveaways, so I'll rather than pack them up because I still have some packing up to do. I'll probably in the next couple of times do a couple more giveaways just to lighten my packing load. So I'll give you a heads up when that's going to happen. Anyway, thanks to everyone who came out tonight. It's as I said earlier, it's been a great little respite from the craziness that I sort of feel myself going through with this renovation and the flood and the remediation of all that. It's great to just come and talk war games with you, to you, at you, and read what you got to say. it's always interesting to hear everybody's opinions about different games. Anyway, with that said, I'll close it off for tonight, and I probably have a podcast out in a couple weeks as well. Who knows? But if I don't catch you till then, I'll see you next time. Yeah, well, yeah, check the middle chunk out, Jonathan. Maybe there'll be stuff I'm sure you wish you were there to comment on, because you're always a good to yak with. Oh, thanks, Thomas. I don't think I'd seen your name before. What's the name of your dog? I love seeing people's dogs. so Mike, so Aardwolf does the counter clipping show, but when you watch videos, you do the sleeving. You're doing the sleeving on your own. That's always great. Well, good. I'm glad to see Frankie there. I've told this story before, but my friend Zilla Blitz, Mike Smart, he's got a dog that's very nervous, that doesn't like to be left alone. But Mike's a big fan of, he doesn't watch my videos, but he's a big fan of my podcast, and he's always got it playing on his Alexa thing in his house when he's puttering around doing things. Anyway, he discovered that his dog, Kennedy, I think the dog's name is, can't really remember. Anyway, he found his dog really kind of liked my voice, and so when when he and his wife leave the house and they have to leave the dog alone, in order to soothe the dog, he turns on one of my old podcasts and lets it talk, and it calms the dog right down, and she doesn't feel so alone while Mike and his wife are off doing their shopping or whatever they're going to do. Anyway, that's partly why I always like seeing these pictures of dogs. So good night, Frankie. Good night, Dave. Good night, Mike, Thomas, Jonathan, everybody else who hung out. Christoph, it was great to see you as always, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. If not, maybe before that, if you drop by the Discord or something like that. There's always somebody talking around there too. Good night.